Clive, one of your Goodwood team will include Positive, a 2-year-old, who you bought. Tell us first of all what you liked at the sales when you saw him.
Well, he's out of a half-sister to Zonderland, and by Dutch art makes him a 3-parts brother, which was very attractive. Zonderland was a real favourite and superstar of ours that won the Sovereign Stakes at Salisbury and was second in the Celebration Mile, and you know, he was just a really nice horse to deal with, and this fella had a lot of similarities and made a very pleasing debut at Salisbury, winning his maiden by 5 lengths, and there was a little bit of greenness from a couple of the other runners, and he got carried quite badly left, and all the more impressive that he managed to win by 5 lengths. The form of the race worked out well with one of the horses behind winning nicely at Newbury on the weekend, so that works.
Were you expecting a 5-length win?
Well, I thought he'd do really well, James. We've liked him from the start. He has a bit of size and scope about him, so he's also going to be, anything he does from here is going to be better. So we were pleased that he carried out the run that we were hopeful for, and he clearly did.
You seemed quite sweet on him after that. How highly do you rate him?
I think he's got a lot of potential, and he's not just about this year. I think the fact that he can do what he's doing now with the right sort of behaviour and development, I think he's got a wonderful mind, and I hope he's a horse that we can be looking forwards to, and yeah, I'm quite excited.
And was Goodwood always the plan? You weren't tempted by anything at Newmarket?
No, I think he's got to keep progressing, and at that level, the Vintage is a race that it was the first Group 2 I ever won with extension, and this fellow excites me in a similar sort of style that it would be a healthy step. He lacks experience. That's what he needs from here now is going to be gained on the racetrack, really, and he's a horse that'll definitely get a mile next year. So this is a step in the right direction.
And this sun beating down quick ground at Goodwood, that shouldn't pose any problems?
I hope. Listen, the ground will be nice at Goodwood, and I'm sure he's a horse I don't have too many concerns, and at the moment I hope we'll be fine.
Shades of Blue has got an entry in the King George Stakes to take on the mighty Batash. But tell us, she had a bad injury, and what was that? And you must be delighted with how she's recovered.
She's come back really well, and as good as we could ever imagined at the top level after splitting a pastern last year. Sadly, after she was third in the Queen Mary, she did split a pastern, and not in the race, but a while afterwards, and great vets team, Donington Grove at Newbury did a wonderful job, and it was amazing how quickly she was able to be back in her stable and with 3 screws in, and she's made a full recovery, and which is great, and she won a listed race in France. Holly Doyle gave her a super ride, winning over there, and then followed up really well with second in the Summer Stakes as well, stepping up to 6 furlongs. So she's versatile in as much as I think we're not ruling out the 5 furlong options as well as 6. Likes top of the ground, wonderful filly to train, and she's a possibility.
And the big betting race, the big handicap at Glorious Good is the Stewards Cup. Louis De Palma, who's not had many runs, he might just creep in at the bottom of the weight. He's got there's still potential though, because he's not had many runs.
Louis' a real yard favourite, and he's done especially well. He's rated in the mid-90s now, and he was second in the Richmond as a 2-year-old, he's had a few issues along the way which have been well documented, and I'm just so proud he's back in one piece, and as hungry and determined as you could ever imagine. For an older horse, we absolutely adore him. He's owned by Peter Ridges, and he's a real top performer.
You mentioned his rating, 95. Can he be competitive off that in a Stewards Cup? Has he got a big one in him, do we think?
Well, I hope so. I think he is, yeah. I think he would not be quite as effective if the ground was too firm, and so we'll take our choices as they fall. But yeah, he's in these competitive races, he's rock solid, really.
Another smart 2-year-old is Golden Hall. He ran so well in the Coventry at a big price. He's stepping up on his form. The Richmond is the plan for him?
The Richmond's a plan for him, for Sheikh Sultan, and a really nice horse by Lethal Force. He was 5th in the Coventry, and obviously that form always works out as you'd expect. So, you know, delighted with him. I don't think there'll be any problems handling the track, and he's a very well balanced horse, lovely size and scope about him, and you know, I think he's a horse to go forwards with from here. He's not just a 2-year-old. So
Taken Ascot well.
Taken Ascot really well, but as I say, he's got a bit of size and scope about him as well. So I hope he's a horse that can continue to fulfil that promise.
And a 2-year-old filly, Hand on My Heart, was the first time out winner at Windsor. You've got a bit of an advantage here because you know her family quite well, don't you?
She's from a very good family, James. Yes, she's a half sister to Heartache and Heartwarming, which you know, they've both been seriously high achievers, Queen Mary's and listed races. So she couldn't have pleased us more with her debut win at Windsor. Admittedly, she was getting the allowances, but off of horses that had been running at a very high level, and to win first time out was very pleasing, and she can do nothing but improve from there. She's never been off the place, so that was her first outing away from home. So we'll have an entry for her in the Alice Keppel. We will cover an entry in the Richmond, but I think we'll just look at the entries and see. But I would be very much drawn to the possibility of running against her own sex at this stage.
And the other 2 fillies, Heartwarming and Heartache, they're pure speed, weren't they? All that speed. Is she similar to them in that?
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt. She's got a lot of natural ability and speed. She's very athletic. She's only getting stronger all the time. So I'm really pleased that, you know, she's inherited that vital gene of ability that her sisters had.
And does it gives you a bit of a kick to train this sort of families, and it a help to know?
Well, I knew Mum as well. We trained Mum, and she won the Lansdowne down at Bath and was Group 3 placed in France. So Mum was very good, place in my heart, and so yeah, I'm delighted. I mean, it's wonderful to have a family like that, and delighted that we were able to train them.
That looks quite a decent team to go to one of the big meetings. Can't be many things sweeter than a winner at Glorious Goodwood in the sunshine, can there?
Well, no, as I say, we've won the vintage before with extension, and you know, we've you know, anyway, it's nice to have a nice winner, but Goodwood's pretty special. I think in the English countryside, it's one of the most impressive racecourses in the country.